Hi, how are you today? I hope you're well. I'd like to discuss, well, vaccines. And the misinformation, and I'm going to start with one part of this story and go to a different part of the story. But I'd like to make a suggestion to you that when you hear information about vaccines, that you be careful, because there are people out there who would like very much for you to believe things that are not true. Why would they do that? Well, not everybody's nice in this world. There are some bad people out there. There are people out there who are controlled by greed. There are the psychopaths who don't really feel much except for rage. There are other kinds of people out there who are more interested in themselves than they are in other people, and they don't care what happens as a result of their actions, so long as they get rich or they get powerful or what both maybe, or they get attention. Some of them are just desperately seeking attention, and they'll do anything to get it. And you can look all over YouTube and Twitter and TikTok and so on to find these people. These people will just do anything to get attention, and it doesn't even matter whether it's good or bad. They don't care about the kind of attention they get so long as they get attention. But let's take a look at a specific case. I'm not sure exactly when it was, but this is in the 1990s. A lawyer named Mr. Barr contacted a doctor by the name of Andrew Wakefield. And the reason he contacted him was because he wanted him, Mr. Wakefield, or at that time Dr. Wakefield, to conduct a study that would demonstrate a damaging connection between the MMR vaccine and some kind of illness that would freak parents out enough that they wouldn't want that MMR vaccination anymore. And just so you understand, getting the MMR vaccination is a lot cheaper than getting the measles vaccination, the mumps vaccination, and the rubella vaccination separately. Okay, so there was a potential monetary gain for Mr. Barr and whoever he was representing. And then, of course, what about Mr. Wakefield? Well, he was being paid £150, I think, an hour. It was in order. That's a lot of money. In order to create this study, and which was far more than I think than his associates were when they were making the study. He conducted the study in a secretive manner, working separately most of the time from the others working on the study, and he was the lead author, so he had control over the study in ways that the others did not, perhaps, have. In 1997, Mr. Wakefield, through the hospital he worked at, applied for a patent for vaccination that could help with measles, as well as helping with certain disorders of the intestines. In 1998, when the study was completed, Mr. Wakefield did not reveal his connection to Mr. Barr. He did not reveal that he had a patent pending for a vaccine for measles. As soon as the study was published, he convened a meeting with the press, and in that meeting he informed them of the supposed danger revealed by the study. And he said, you should still get your vaccines, but get them separately. The MMR vaccine causes autism. Now, if you actually look at the study, which is still available on The Lancet, which is the medical journal in the UK that published it, but it has retracted written on every page in big red letters, because they finally came to realize that the study had been debunked, and that he was engaged in fraud. And if you look at the conclusions very clearly state that the study did not show a connection between the vaccine and autism, and that further study was required. However, Mr. Wakefield, when he spoke to the news, claimed the opposite. He did not go against vaccines. He went specifically against MMR. Okay? And so, if we think about this, he was making a huge sum of money to do the research, and then probably, I would assume, he continued to get paid money by Mr. Barr and the people he represented after the research came out in order to make people scared. And it worked. For over a decade, people were very scared about the MMR vaccine, and MMR vaccinations decreased in the United Kingdom as well as around the world, leading to outbreaks eventually of measles and mumps and rubella. But here was a man, and if you think about it from his position, he's not going to just up and say, oh, you know what, I was lying, I'm so sorry, yeah, you're right, the study doesn't say what I said it said. But I think maybe the reason it took the Lancet 12 years to retract the study is because it doesn't actually confirm what Mr. Wakefield claimed. And that's my guess. But immediately upon him releasing these studies, other studies were done, and those studies reported that they could not find any proof for Mr. Wakefield's claims. And I think those were published in 1998 and 1999, and also in the Lancet, I believe. So, why am I telling you this? Well, I would really like people to stop believing the lies of Mr. Wakefield and associates regarding the MMR vaccine and the connection between vaccinations and autism. But more importantly, I'm trying to demonstrate to you a situation wherein a professional in the field of medicine and science deliberately lied to people in order to get rich. And eventually, through the work of an investigative journalist named Brian Deere and various scientists and medical professionals, he was shown to be a fraud. They found his patent application. They found other things that damned his claims, and he was removed from medical practice in the UK. He went to America and continued to make these false claims, freaking out lots and lots of Americans, and gets paid to go to various conventions to speak about this, even though he's not a doctor and he's not a scientist anymore. In addition to that, he is even invited to the extreme conspiracy theory convention that's held on a cruise ship, and he gives speeches there, along with people who believe in aliens, and the gray aliens, and the reptilian, reptilian aliens, and all the other very fringe conspiracy theories that are really, really based in fantasy, or something, I don't know. So, I think that it's very important that you always keep in mind that there are people out there who don't care about you, and they just want your money. They want your vote. They want power over you. Okay? They want to manipulate you and control you. And they get great pleasure out of doing this sometimes, and sometimes they just get rich and powerful. So, why am I saying this again? Well, okay, so let's take that specific example and generalize it to vaccines across the board. Now, you always hear about, oh, there are these people who have died because of this vaccine or that vaccine, or the vaccines are not 100%. Okay, let's start from the reverse there. No vaccine is 100%. It isn't going to be 100% in terms of being able to make sure that everybody gets an immune response that protects that person from the virus or whatever that the vaccination was made for. And it doesn't necessarily give 100% protection to those whose immune systems actually respond. So, and to be specific, like for example, the current vaccinations for the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which causes COVID-19, um, people were expecting, oh, it's going to be like this and that, and that. Sorry, but it comes from a very poor understanding of vaccines and the risks and rewards of vaccines. Um, so think of it this way. If you get a vaccine, now, for example, I was going to go, when I wanted to go to Indonesia, I was going to live and work there, and this was back in 2001. Um, I started getting vaccinations months and months and months before I left, including rabies, and one of the ones I did not get was typhoid fever vaccination, and the reason is because the chance of success was of it successfully immunizing me was fairly low, and even the person who was giving the vaccine said, "Well, it's not very reliable in terms of how many people will receive immunity." And if we look at the SARS-CoV-2 virus, we see a vaccination. We see, there are lots of different ones, right? And they use different technology. The ones in the U.S., we've got 3. 2 of them have an efficacy of somewhere in the area of 95%. And very few people who get those vaccinations end up in the hospital. And very few of those who do end up getting severe COVID-19 actually die either. So, and then there's Johnson and Johnson. Theirs isn't as effective. If you were to get a second shot, it probably would help, but one shot gives, depending on which source, somewhere between 65 and 85% chance of being at least partially protected. So, note I said partially. So, the thing about a vaccination is it's dependent on whether or not your immune system responds to it, and also how strongly it responds to it. So, you could be given the shot and your immune system won't respond, and that could happen for a number of reasons, including that your immune system is compromised. But on the other hand, you could have a very strong reaction and feel absolutely miserable after the vaccine, but then that strong reaction means that if you ever get the virus in you, it's going to be attacked very rapidly. Also, the vaccine targets specific types of antibodies that are not at the forefront of where the virus invades, which is up here. So reactions by the immune system can be weak and delayed because the vaccine is working in the body instead of in this area up here so much. So you may still get sick. Now, I've had the vaccination and I haven't had any problems whatsoever. I've already debunked the claim that magnets are being injected into us and it's making us magnetized and you can stick stuff to you and stuff, and I already did that. And then I demonstrated that the stuff I stuck to my skin was not magnetic, and I stuck it to my skin after I'd been working hard and had been sweating, so my skin was very sticky, as you know happens when sweat dries on your skin. So the point here is that I am very concerned that there are people out there who are spreading the lies about the masks and spreading the lies about the vaccinations and spreading other lies related to this virus. I don't think that this is a particularly terrible virus compared to some of the other ones that are out there. But at the same time, I realize that medical professionals are putting their lives on the line while trying to deal with surges of patients that exceed the number of beds they have, the number of breathing apparatuses they have, and so on and so forth. And in some countries, they have little or maybe even no resources to help these patients. So they're being flooded with patients, and they can't treat them all, or they can't treat any of them, and they have to watch them die. And in some cases, they have to choose who lives and who dies because they don't have enough equipment. So, which one am I gonna let live? I mean, how would you feel if you had to choose who was going to live and die, and it was your decision, and you'd have to live with that for the rest of your life? It's not an easy thing for a lot of people to make. A decision for people to make. So I look at it from the perspective of I want to help the medical professionals, doctors and nurses' aides and stuff, so that they don't get sick and die trying to help us. And so I will wear my mask, even though I hate wearing the mask. And I got my immunizations, even though I didn't really feel any need to do so. Although, maybe in the future I will be ill enough that I will be vulnerable to the virus. But at this point in time, I'm not. But still, I have that vaccination, and I don't have to worry about that as much anymore. So, again, there are people out there who want your money. There are people out there who want you to vote for them or to follow them or just, talk about them so they can get more attention. The narcissists love attention, and they don't care if it's good or bad. They just want to be noticed because it's about them that satisfies them. And these people are upset when they're not being noticed, when they're not being catered to, when their demands are not being met. And it can be very, very difficult to be in a relationship with people like that. Okay? Some of these people, honestly, I hate to say this, but some of the people that are spreading lies about the virus, about the pandemic, about the vaccine and masks, they want you to die. They sit back and watch the numbers go up, and they're happy. These are passive psychopaths. These are people who, for whatever reason, do not wish to engage in hunting down and murdering people. But they're quite happy to drive by a major car accident where somebody has died and they can see blood on the ground. Or they're quite happy to lie in order to see people die that way. There are lots of different kinds of people out there that are happy with you dying. They're happy with you voting for them, and they're happy with saying anything they need to say, doing anything they need to do to get that money, to get that power. So, again, please, please be very, very, very careful. If the former Dr. Andrew Wakefield was willing to make a study that didn't prove his point, so he went to the media and lied about the study for over a decade, and probably still does now, is willing to do that, and I forgot. The patent he filed it with another man, Mr. Hugh Fudenberg. However, it's misspelled on the patent as Fundenberg. Mr. Fudenberg was also a doctor, and because of criminal behavior, he was removed from practice as a doctor too. So, I realize that some of you are not going to be convinced by this, and that's okay, I understand. I'm sad, but I understand. I hope, however, that you will think about this and maybe reconsider and be more careful. I hope you have a great day. Thank you very much for watching.